Welcome, and on behalf of Shelley Smith, Christina Mackey, and me, glad you could join me. I'm going to do a short video clip in which I want to talk a little bit about the highlights of our first telehealth and technology interest group meeting. It was held in Louisville, Kentucky at the annual conference in November, and I thought you might find it interesting to find out a little bit more about what happened. There were about 25 people who attended the session. When we talked to them and asked them a little bit about their background, it broke into about three groups. The first group called themselves kind of the enthusiastic kind of group. These were a group of people that said they really like the topic, but they're right now not providing any telehealth delivery of services whatsoever. That's about 13 people. The next group was a group that said, hey, we're pretty competent. We've been doing this for 3 to 5 years. We know what we're doing, and we're feeling pretty good about the work that we're doing. The third group basically said, you know what, we're probably at the expert level. That is, we're providing education and training to other people, and we know quite a bit about telehealth and what's going on. When you think about that a little bit, one of the things that's interesting, if you haven't seen this month's Family Therapy magazine, is there are four very excellent articles on telemental health. One was with Kat Hertland and Aaron Cohen. Aaron was part of the group that was there, and I hope if you have a chance to look at those articles, you'll do that. What I want to do now is talk a little bit about what sort of topics were of interest to the group. The first topic that came to everybody's mind very quickly was the idea of portability. Everybody sees this lack of portability as a big issue, and then if we don't get that resolved, our ability to do really good work through telehealth is going to be impaired. The other thing is that people were saying, you know what, the fact that we're providing a website is also a forum that people can use to explore issues, and that in and of itself is going to be a big plus for everybody. Another group of people had a big interest in online supervision. For those people, they felt like they were doing fairly well, but needed to fine-tune what was going on. And in terms of fine-tuning, a big issue had to do with what's going on from an education and training perspective. People were saying, we're not sure who's providing good training, and we wanted to talk a little bit about what is the training and what's going on with it. The next issue had to do with advocacy, and the advocacy for the most part had to do with COMAFTI sites and the idea that when you think a little bit about training and education for the future generation of therapists, how well are we doing, and essentially, raising the questions about, what's a good sort of way for us to do that. The other issue that came to people's minds was the idea of core competencies, recognizing that a lot of work has already been going on, but there's more work to be done. And that brings me to then the best practice material. A number of publications have come out kind of talking about best practice, and a lot of people were raising questions about what else are we kind of learning with there, which is connected to the idea of effectiveness research. And everybody is kind of wanting to take a look at, we know telehealth is delivery is a very positive kind of way to go, but the issues sort of break down when it comes to talking a little bit about things like, well, what do we know for sure about dealing with the elderly? What do we know for sure about how to handle telehealth with rural populations? What are we learning in terms of healthcare settings, school-based settings? What are we learning about military and what's working and not working? So essentially, those were the topics that the group sort of raised. In terms of the future, what I hope you'll do is take a look at the site, that you'll post some discussions on topics that are interesting to you. You'll take a look at our library. If you need some research support, you'll consider this group as a group to do that. And for those of you who have an interest in becoming a leader Obviously, this is a very small group, and we're going to need some leadership, and there'll be a variety of leadership opportunities opening up in the near future, and I hope you'll consider that as well. So that's it for today's session. What I wanted to do was share with you the highlights of our first meeting, talk a little bit about who attended, fill you in on some of the issues that were raised, and my hope is if you're a member that you'll become engaged and actively involved, and if you're not a member, hope you'll join us as soon as you can. Thank you very much, and I'm Rick Long, Chair of the Telehealth and Technology Interest Group. Thank you for joining me.